First Kings. We're going to be in the Old Testament for a little while. Actually, we're going to be in the Old Testament for a while. I'm not going to say how long this is. I'm not going to say I don't have anything to say. We're just going to roll. We're going to be in First Kings today. And we're going to talk about Solomon. And I know Solomon got an extremely bad rap. He really did. Because what we remember of Solomon is he didn't have a whole lot of practical application of the wisdom he had. He didn't listen to some certain things. And he allowed lust and he allowed the obedience to his wife instead of obedience to God to overthrow him. But I want to back up a little bit. There are some things we can learn from the beginning of Solomon's journey that I think are very pertinent for today, and even things that I've read in the last couple weeks, because this is what I prepared last Sunday. Now, I will joke. I told Sarah and I told Pastor Donna this morning. I said, giving myself another week, because last week there was a lot. We just settled down for worship. I've only added like 3 more pages of notes, so we should be good. Everybody's like, pause dinner. In this storyline in 1 Kings chapter 3, or in the 1 Kings, we start learning about King David. King David has gotten to the end of his leadership, his lifespan. He's gotten sick. It says in 1 Kings chapter 1 that King David had gotten to a place in his life that he could no longer stay warm. I mean, this is no different than what I know people in this room, that it's already cold in there for them in this room, and I'm sweating. That no matter how much blankets, heating pad, and cover up, they're just stay cold. Now, David's was at a point in his life, progressing with age and all the battles he had been into, that now he's entering the end of his life. King David had Solomon. This is the son out of Bathsheba. Remember their story? We're not going to talk about that. Too many kids in the room. King David had already stated he knew earlier in the storyline, even talking to Bathsheba, that Solomon would be anointed king. And in the midst of the journey, one of Solomon's brothers started to overthrow the kingdom. He started scheming behind the scenes of brothers to take over Jerusalem. Bathsheba stepped in and said, excuse me, king, you promised our son Solomon would be who would take the throne next. And in the midst of a couple chapters, between chapter 1 and chapter 3, there is this instant battle in the family about who should be king. But King David was correct. He goes, you're right. I did promise that Solomon would be the next king. He felt it in his heart, not just because of his sonship, but because that was the anointing that God had given King David, that Solomon was the next one in line. We find King David, he's approximately 70 years old. He's been serving and being king for about 40 years. Now, if you pay attention to what kingships and leaderships do, leadership ages you rather quickly. You look at even our presidents throughout their lifespan. You look at the beginning of their 8-year term, what they look like, how their body structures, their face, their hair color. You look 4 years and 8 years later, and they are very much aged. There's a lot of stress with leading. There's a lot of things that you have to think through and understand and figure out how to answer the question correctly and which way you need to go and where you need to go and stop and all the things that come with leadership, that it takes a weight. Solomon finds himself talking to Nathan, King David, and then you find Solomon being anointed as king. And all those that we're not teaching this morning either. You go read 1 Kings chapter 2. Solomon is given the instruction to eliminate all the co-conspirators. I mean, how do I say this politely? This is going to get used out of context and sent somewhere. I know it will. If we took all co-conspirators today, anyone who tried to create division in the house of God and who should take leadership next, and we treated them the way Solomon did, there would be no division. I mean, I've always said it and I've understood it, but no matter what you think about the movie industry and the ratings that are on the movie industry, if this book was written and a movie was made exactly how it was written, I don't mean pretty Hollywood version. I mean, as it was written, none of us would be old enough to watch it. Half of it we would have to be blindfolded in and earplugs because this gets brutal. And so this is not my Sunday morning after the 4th of July kind of teaching. But it's something that each of you need to consider. There is a cost for division. Now I'm going to leave that alone. Solomon finds himself king. 1 Kings chapter 3. This is where we're going to start in verse 3. And Solomon loved the Lord, walking in the statutes of David his father. Only he sacrificed burnt incense in high places. Verse 4. And the king went to Gibeon to sacrifice there, for that was the great high place. 1,000 burnt offerings did Solomon offer upon the altar. That's a lot. It's a lot of barbecue. Absolutely, because if you took a ram, if you took the prized possession, we're not talking about the runt of the litter. Burnt offerings, they came with it had to be a cost. It wasn't something you just said, well, I got a few extra dollars, that's my burnt offering. That's not a burnt offering. A burnt offering at this level is a sacrifice in the Old Testament. This came for the best of the bunch. And he sacrificed 1,000. This was Solomon's heart towards God at the beginning. And I want to set up a stage here. Not like a stage, but a stage. Solomon loved God at the beginning of his life. I'm not sure Solomon ever stopped loving God. I think he got deceived. So here's where I want to go. Is we kind of write people off. We write people off when they make mistakes. We write people off when their journey goes a different sideways sometimes than the one that we think they should, or because they started good. Let's not do that anymore, because there are things we need to learn from Solomon. There's an amazing lesson about Solomon in here. Now, whatever happened to him in eternity, well, we'll let each other know when we get there. We'll know. 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 5. In Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night. And God asked, what I shall give thee. Now, I want to remind you about something. I'm still learning about dreams and visions and what dictates a young man and an old man. I don't know if I want to know that yet. Whatever I get at night, I'm happy for. I don't want to dictate a dream or vision because I don't want to determine if I'm a young or an old man yet. You understand? Just I'm happy. But this is something I want to make a note of. God's going to bug you when he wants to bug you. He don't care if you're sleeping or not. I mean, the Lord's like, Solomon, he just did 1,000 burnt offerings. I'm sure that took some time and energy. He was probably ready to lay himself down at night and have sleepy nights and all that kind of jazz. And all of a sudden, God wakes him up and says, yo, we're going to have a dream. Let's get moving here. We got time short, so we're going to talk. But the Lord asks him something that is absolutely amazing. What can I give you? The Lord wasn't waiting for Solomon to ask. He started the conversation like, what do you need, man? You're now king. What do you need to accomplish this? Verse 6, Solomon says, thou hast shown unto thy servant David, my father, great mercy, according as he walked before thee in truth and in righteousness, in uprightness of heart with thee. And thou hast kept for him his greatness, that thou hast given him a son to sit on his throne, that is this day. Man, can I just say I would love for my kids to make this prayer towards God one day? You know, you took care of my dad. I mean, I was telling Mom, I said, I prayed the beginning of this prayer. I get Solomon. Because even last week, I kind of muddled my own prayer by this. Lord, you took care of my dad. You showed him great things. He created great things. Mom and Dad did great things here. And I'm grateful for their uprightness and all that stuff. And it comes to another point here. And now, Lord, oh my God, thou hast made thy servant king instead of David my father, and I am but a little child. It wasn't about his age. He was inexperienced, immature in understanding. He didn't know how to be a king. There wasn't king lessons. There's not always pastor lessons. A lot of that is on-the-job training, as Dad even used to say. But here's where he went. He's like, Solomon spent this amazing time praising God for David. Look at all the amazing things that you did through my father. I am now but a child. I know not how to go out or come in. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't understand what I'm supposed to be accomplishing. I don't know all the ins and outs of how I'm supposed to walk into a room and how I'm supposed to wait and all of those things. Verse 8, and thy servant is in the midst of thy people which thou hast chosen, a great people that cannot be numbered nor counted for multitude. Solomon was like, listen, you put me here in the middle of your people. Not my people, your people. Give therefore, verse 9, give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people. Solomon put everything back into God's place. These aren't my people. You put me in the midst of your people. Now give me the heart of understanding. Give me ability to judge your people according to you. Heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this, thy so great a people? Solomon knew he was inexperienced. He knew he was young. Solomon's request is one of the most humble questions we could ever ask God. I need help doing what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know why you put me here. You took care of all the people before me. You took care of my dad. You took care of my grandpa. You took care of all those people for your people. And now you've planted me here in the midst of your people. So I need to know your understanding of how to take care of your people. This was awesome. He didn't ask for anything extra. He didn't ask for riches. He didn't want to conquer the world. He didn't ask for any of that. He simply said, Lord, I need help taking care of your people. You planted me in a great nation. Beyond the multitude is more than I can count. As a king, and he looks and he goes, I don't know how many people are actually in our kingdom. It's too great to count. We cannot count everyone who's in the kingdom. But I need help doing this. And then you get God's reply. Verse 10. And the speech pleased the Lord, that Solomon had asked this thing. Verse 11. And God said unto him, because thou hast asked this thing, and hast not asked for thyself long life, neither hast asked thyself for riches for thyself, nor hast asked the life of thine enemies, but hast asked for thyself understanding to discern judgment. Behold, I have done according to thy words. Dude, think about it. Ponder for just a moment. Of all the things we have ever asked for, because we all have our list that we ask and we pray for God's response to come back, because you've asked this, so be it. I got you covered. It's done. But he didn't stop there. Behold, I have done according to thy words. I've given thee a wise and an understanding heart. I love the fact that he added wise and understanding. There is a purpose here. You can have wisdom and have no practical understanding of how to put it into play. You can have wisdom and have no way to relate to people. It doesn't do any good. You can have the greatest ability to relate to everyone you come in contact with. Stupid. Wow. Lord, you put me here. You can have the ability to relate to people but have no wisdom. No practical application of what you've learned. God gave him both. It needs both. Wisdom doesn't come without having an understanding of how to use it. You can be the smartest person in the world. You really can. But if you don't know how to take your wisdom and benefit other people, it's worthless. He didn't just ask for long life. He didn't ask for riches. He didn't ask for any of that. He simply asked for understanding. And the Lord said, I'm going to give you every bit of the wisdom and understanding you're going to need, and an understanding heart, which means he gave him compassion. So that there was none like thee before thee, neither after thee shall any arise unto thee. He straight out said, listen, everything you just asked for a wise and understanding heart, I'm going to give you to the point of overflowing that no one will ever come clear to the wisdom and understanding and the heart that I have given you. To this day, Solomon is still listed as the wisest of all kings. I've not seen anybody as wise. Not that I've seen a whole lot of people. But history shows, no matter what you think of our current administration, he's still the wisest of all that God ever created. Now somebody's going to take that out of context. He said Solomon was wiser than God. That's not what I said. Of anyone created. But here's where it gets fun. Verse 13, God says, but wait, I have more for you. And I have also given thee that which thou hast not asked, both riches and honor, so that there should not be any among the kings like unto thee all thy days. And if thou wilt walk in my ways. That's a lot of W's. Sometimes King James is just challenging, but we're going to work through it. And if thou wilt walk in thy ways to keep thy statutes and thy commandments as thy father David did walk, then I will lengthen thy days. There's a check mark here. There's a checks and balances. Solomon, knowing he was king, immature, young, said, Lord, you've planted me here in the midst of your great unnumberable people. That is amazing. Thank you so much. You've taken care of my dad. You've taken care of the people in our past. I need wisdom and an understanding of how to rule, how to judge, how to balance this out. And God says, you know what? Because you've asked for wisdom, I'm going to give you wisdom, understanding, practical application. I'm going to give you riches. I'm going to give you all of your enemies. But there's a check mark. He said, I'll give you length of days if you follow my commandments. Which means God left a window that if Solomon went sideways, of which he kind of did, he didn't promise him long life. Because God can't go against what he promises. He can't tell you, say, listen, I'm going to give you. It's like, Lord, I want long life. If you walk in my ways. Think about that, y'all. God said, listen now, if you walk in all my ways, then I'll give you long life. Because he can't lie. He can't give a promise and take it back, so he left himself a window. Solomon, this is on you. You want long life? Then you have to follow all the days. Then you've got to walk. You've got to follow the commandments. You've got to follow the statutes. But it does show God's heart. See, God, and we're talking about Jesus, the Word, before he came flesh, was sitting there going, that's who he's talking to in these scriptures. He said, this is what he wants to do. He goes, I want to give you what you asked for, the wisdom. And this is what God does for us. We ask for certain things, he says, but I want to give you more. I want to give you an abundance more than what you asked for. If we're asking correctly, the key is humility. We come to God being arrogant and prideful, we ain't getting nothing. We might not even get what we prayed for. We come in there with humility going, Lord, I need some wisdom to take care of your people. I don't need all the extra stuff. Or we come and say, Lord, I need some wisdom of how to deal with my kids, since this is a family week. Lord, I need some wisdom how to deal with my parents. Lord, I need some wisdom how to deal with my siblings. I don't need long life. I don't want riches. I don't want to take out my enemies. I want wisdom of how to live my life according to you, Lord. Coming with that true humility, God's already proved. It's like, listen, I'll give you that and I'm going to give you more. Granted, Solomon lost his way. Solomon didn't live a long, prosperous life. Not like his father. Why? Because he didn't follow the rules. He didn't follow the statutes. I mean, not to... how do I say this? Lord, I'm really needing some wisdom how to say this. We have been given a lot of information over our life. Whether or not that you are just now here in Be in Health for the first time ever, you've been here for 40,000 years. See, that covers, I'm not pointing at anybody. You've been here forever. We've been given a lot of knowledge. We've been given a lot of information. If you're reading this, and I say if, and I don't mean reading, going, yeah, I read a chapter, but I mean slowing down enough to go, let's just dissect this, and you're taking it in. We've been given a ton of information. What are you doing with it? Are you seeing blessings because you're applying what you learned? Are you seeing change because you're applying what you learned? Are you seeing differences in your family because you're applying what you learned? Or are we just saying, you know what, thank you so much for the knowledge, and it goes in the box and we put it on the shelf, and that's all we do with it? The greatest thing, this is family week. The greatest disservice, okay, Lord, the greatest disservice anyone can ever give the knowledge of For My Life, okay? Not saying For My Life is anything great, it's not greater than the word. We're just repackaging the word and sharing it to y'all. The greatest disservice you can do to Hope of the Generations, Be in Health, For My Life, and the OA, turn your back on what you learned. Don't put it into practice. Spend a whole week here. Spend a lifetime here. Be here 20-something years and go through all of this stuff. And yeah, I know all this information, but don't actually walk in it. That's a disservice to the word. What have you been spinning your wheels doing? That's wasting time. Solomon was given a task. As different hats that we wear here, we're giving a task. My first task is a husband. Well, a son of God. My first request for wisdom is how to be a proper son of God. Second hat is a husband. Next request, wisdom of how to be a husband, how to be a son, how to be a brother, how to be a father, how to be a pastor, how to be a leader, how to be whatever letters, president, CEO, whatever the letters are behind all that stuff, whatever that means, those are all the different things I'm asking wisdom for. But the disservice is if God gives you the answer and you just look at it and go, well, that's not the one I wanted. Yeah, I wasn't expecting an amen. And then you want to know why God's not blessing you? You didn't follow the rules. You didn't keep the statutes. You didn't follow the commandments. You didn't take the gift that he gave you and actually do something with it. Each of us are given a task. Solomon was given a task to be a proper, wise king for God. I want to be a proper, wise pastor for God. I want to be a proper, wise husband, father, son, brother, all the other things for God. If you don't add the for God at the end of that, you're missing the mark already. This is what Solomon, of all we remember Solomon's life with 1,000 wives and concubines. That's what stands out. But he requested to be a wise king. James chapter 1 verse 5 says, if any of you lack wisdom, let's be honest, let's be real for a second. How many of us lack wisdom? And those that don't raise your hand are lying. I'm not calling you out because either you weren't listening or you're too scared to answer. How many of us in this room lack wisdom in things that we're wanting to know how to work on things? Absolutely. If any of you lack wisdom, James chapter 1 verse 5 says, let him ask of, not Google. How do I raise my children? Don't do that. Ask God. How do I be a proper son and daughter of God? Ask God. How do I be a proper brother and sister in the Word? Ask God. How do I be a proper whatever? Put your little title in there. Ask God. Let him ask of God that give it to all liberally. Not stingy. Not, well, I'm just going to give you just a teeny tiny bit of wisdom. No, liberally. Cup runneth over. It flows out where you just can't handle it. And upbraideth not, it shall be given him. Let's look at that word. I didn't know what that word really meant. I had to go study that word. Upbraideth means to scold, criticize, or find fault. In our terminology, been there, done that, on the receiving side. Berating someone or making them feel foolish or stupid for asking a question. And you want to know why we have fear about asking God for wisdom? Well, God must think I'm supposed to already know. Because that's what we've seen it at our homes. We've seen it in our life. Some kid asks a question, and I've done it myself. It's like, you don't know the answer to that? That's not what God's going to do to us. It's funny, I'm not looking at anybody. Kids ask ignorant questions. And depending on the age of that kid, will tell you how red your face gets. But we're just kids. We're supposed to ask stupid, ignorant questions. And I don't mean stupid because there's no stupid question. Yes, there are. Ignorance is a form of knowledge. If you don't know something, ask him. There was an email that came across this week from someone within the team, and they emailed Doug and I, and we were going back and forth, and like, well, I struggle. What if I don't know something? Can I ask a question? I'm like, please. I would much rather you ask 1,000 questions in a day in life of being health than assume you know the answer and we have to fix it backwards. The Lord would rather you ask 1,000 clarifying questions about where your next step should be so he doesn't have to now fix it down the road because you screwed it up. I didn't expect an amen out of that either. Here's the thing. We get so fearful of asking a question because we think we're so old at this point, we should already know the answer. Wrong. There's no age limit in James chapter 1. There's no line there. It says, if any of you. Didn't say just the young, didn't say middle-aged, didn't say whatever age is next, and the old. It says, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God that give it to all men liberally, or all people liberally, which means completely just overflowing you. He won't make you feel stupid for asking a question. He won't berate you because you don't know the answer. Listen, we've doing the Family 101 conference thing on Saturday. Sarah and I, we were talking afterwards, like, we've got 11 kids, and I'm still asking God on how to deal with the ones we got. Because what worked with one don't work with the next. And if you try it, you're like, whoa, that backfired. Why did that work with this one and not with this one? Oh, wait, they're two different people. We're supposed to ask for wisdom. Because here's the thing. We will never come to the full knowledge of what we need for our day-by-day life. Because the moment we start to think that we know it all, we are no longer reliant on Him. We're no longer trusting Him. We're doing it all on our own. Solomon got to a point that he stopped relying on God and started relying on his wives, plural. That was his fall. If he's relying here, liberally means to simply, openly, frankly, sincerely. That's what we want. The next little definition behind it is generously, bountiful, and without holding back, which means we're not going to get scolded for asking a question. There's no reason to be fearful of asking God how. There's a song that For Him did, and I know that's old, and probably not a whole lot of people in this room know this, but For Him did a song called Why, back in the, late 80s, mid 90s, something like that, somewhere in that realm. Love that song. And everyone's like, no, don't ask God why. No, I'm allowed to ask God why, because I don't know. Now, He don't have to tell me. He can treat me like I do some of my kids because I said so, which will be fine. That's an answer. When you get older, I'll explain the mechanisms of why you can't do what you're asking to do. Right now, you just need to be obedient, trust that I know more than you do, and I'm saying no. How many of us have gotten that response from God? And we acted like our teenagers when we did it. Like, but God, I want to know why. You don't need to know why. But they asked this really great, it's okay to ask God why, because that's clarity. He doesn't have to answer you. He doesn't have to explain it in detail. But it's the asking back. I'm going to throw Tyler under the bus this morning. You ready? Tyler showed up Saturday at the Family 101 conference with a hat. I didn't take it. It said, warning, I have no idea what I'm doing. I absolutely love that hat. Because every one of us should be wearing that hat. Walk into everything. Warning, I have no idea what I'm doing. But I've asked God for wisdom. And I've asked God for understanding. And guess what? Because I've seen Him do it before, He'll do it again. Because that's the promise. He's not going to condemn me. He's not going to mock me. He's not going to put me down. He's going to give me everything completely unhindered I need to know of how to do whatever I've asked Him for wisdom for. But even James chapter 1 comes back with a checks and balances. James chapter 1 verse 6. My question is how are you asking? But let him ask in what? It doesn't say in fear. Doesn't say in rejection. This is one that y'all are going to really love. It doesn't say in envy and jealousy. We're not asking for something because we saw somebody else with it. We're not asking in anything except for faith. Wavering nothing. Which means there is nothing that's going to change our decision to ask God in faith for this wisdom. Not time, because you don't really know that you've got the answer until you go to step out in the question. King Solomon didn't realize he was given all the wisdom of the world until the circumstance showed itself that he had to show wisdom. As he stepped into that position, that situation, is when God said, there's your answer. Some of us are asking God in faith, but we've wavered because it didn't show up when and how we asked for it. Well, Father, I asked for wisdom in this circumstance and I don't have the answer yet. No, you haven't got the answer because you haven't stepped out in faith yet. Wow, that hit a little deeper than I thought it was going to, Lord. In myself. Because if it says, and I'm going to ask God, if you lack anything, if you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, who will give liberally, unbraideth not, to all those as, but let him ask in faith, nothing wavering, which means hold fast to your decision. Don't be second guessing your request. For he that wavereth like a wave of the sea driven with the wind and tossed. Doubt and unbelief found a foothold. And you get thrown around in every wind of doctrine because you didn't stand in where you knew you were supposed to stand. Matthew chapter 7 verse 7 says, ask and it shall be given to you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be opened. For everyone that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. Verse 9, or what a man is that you, whom his son has asked for bread, that he give him a stone, or if he asks for fish, he will give him a serpent. Are we asking? Did we slow down enough? Not me just then. Did we slow down enough to actually sit there and knock and go, Lord, I need a door open? Or are we just yelling and screaming and running that the world's coming to an end, that I need a door open for saving, but we didn't check any of the doors we ran past? If we ask, we get. Now, we got to ask correctly with the right heart, with humility. I'm not saying, well, I'm not even going to say that. Check your heart when you're asking. Matthew chapter 21 and 22. Jesus answered, said, and then verily I say unto you, if you have faith. This is right after Jesus cursed the fig tree. Verily I say unto you, if you have faith and doubt not, you shall not only do this which is done to the fig tree, but also if you shall say to this mountain, be thou removed and be cast in the sea, it shall be done. And all things whatsoever you shall ask in prayer, believing, you shall receive. Signs and wonders follow those that what? Are we asking in faith, not wavering? John chapter 15, verse 7 said, if you abide in me and my words abide in you, you shall ask what you will, and it shall be done unto you. What's the caveat? What's the checks and balances in that verse? If his words are abiding, are they there? I love y'all. 1 Kings chapter 3 again. Let's jump backwards. Matthew was repeating Jesus when he said, listen, if you don't doubt in your heart, same as James, without wavering, holding true to what you're asking for. 1 Kings 3:14 says, if thou wilt walk in my ways to keep my statutes and my commandments, as thy father David did, then I will lengthen thy days. How's our walk? Are we keeping the statutes and commandments that we've grown up learning? Are we truly walking and keep my love God, keep my commandments, and love your neighbor as yourself? That's a simple one, at least simple to quote. A little bit more work to walk in. But of all the commandments, that's the number one. That's what we're supposed to be doing. How many of us have asked for wisdom, but we sat back and we didn't do what God told us to do because the answer didn't show up before we moved? We've got to move, then he provides the wisdom of what to do. That's the struggle. I mean, honestly, there's been some things in my life recently, both as a leader and personally. It's like, Lord, I need some wisdom in this area. And he's like, okay, fine, then get off your butt and start walking. What, excuse me, what? But I don't know which way I'm going. I know, but start walking. Well, which way am I going? I'll tell you when you get up and start walking. Well, what if I go the wrong direction? Then I'll turn you around. Okay. I mean, that's the honest answer to this, isn't it? We're so waiting for it to happen just the way we want it when God says, no, you ask for wisdom, I'm going to give you wisdom, but you better believe that I'm going to answer you and not be stuck in what you already know. Because if we're stuck in what we always know, we're not waiting on the wisdom for God to give us because we think we already have it. Do you understand? Don't ask me to repeat that. I don't know if I could. Somebody will have to play that back on slow motion. What did he say? Slow. But if we're waiting on God, we're waiting on God to give us a particular answer. He's saying, no, I'm waiting on you to get moving. We ask for moments of being or having divine appointments, but we're still sitting at home because he didn't give us the scripture we were supposed to give. He's waiting on things in our life that we're supposed to be involved with and doing, but we're waiting for this thing to happen. He goes, no, I'm waiting for you to actually get moving. There are things that he needs us to do because he didn't give Solomon the answer about the baby until the situation arose. He didn't know what he was going to do before he stepped into it. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 5. Solomon wrote this later on in life. He was writing it to his kids. Get wisdom, get understanding. Forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. Forsake her not, and she shall preserve thee. Love her, and she shall keep thee. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, with all thy getting, get understanding. Exalt her, and she will promote thee. She shall bring thee honor when thou dost embrace her. She shall give thine head an ornament of grace, a crown of glory shall she deliver to thee. Hear, O my son, and receive my sayings, and the years of thy life shall be many. Pray for wisdom. Get wisdom and understanding. Don't just ask for the knowledge. Get the request also of how to apply it. Don't forget what you learn. Use what you've learned enough that it stays in your thinking. Don't let it just go to waste. Don't turn away from what you learn. Don't fail to follow and obey advice, instruction, wisdom, and reproof from God. Wisdom will preserve you, and you will retain what you learn. Wisdom is a primary principle to obtain. Esteem wisdom highly, which means don't make fun of people who are smarter than you. It's what it means, but don't think that you know more than anyone else. Consider wisdom a prize. I would have loved to have gone back into my high school years. Not that I want to go back to high school. Don't misunderstand that statement. But I have loved to have gone back in my early years, my high school years, my 20s and my early 30s, and would have considered wisdom a higher prize than what I originally did. To esteem it. Not worshiping it, but to put it in a place of honor. I could use some of that wisdom now that I just fluffed off because I wasn't giving it its place then. Consider its prize, and honor will come with grace and rank. If we receive wisdom and do not use it or hold on to it, we are not honoring the wisdom and knowledge and the gift of it that God gave us. If you learn a task, you get wisdom in something, put it to work. Somehow, one way or the other. Remember it so that way when somewhere down the road somebody asks you a question, it's like, do you have any experience in this? You can look and go, man, I wish I did. Or you can go, I do. Let me tell you what God showed me years ago. We were joking about having useless amounts of knowledge. Myself and a few people that we surround ourselves with, and y'all are grinning, we have a mind full of useless information. It flows around in our head at any given moment, and we're like, I don't know where it came from, I don't know why it's there, but I've got all this junk in my head until somebody goes, so, I got this problem. And all of a sudden, that little lock in that file drawer gets opened, and it's all of that information just rolls out. Like, where did that come from? Because at one point in our life, we asked for wisdom, and God shows it. A lot of it, yes, is useless and probably should go back in the drawer. But if it's practical, if it's something we can put into place, it's probably from God. Are we honoring the gifts and the knowledge that God has given us in how we live our life? Now, my last statement before I'm going to close, and this is 1, 2, or 3. I'm not sure how this is going to fall out. This was the last thing I wrote, and I wrote it as this funky little statement. A lot of times we ask for wisdom and knowledge, or we refuse to ask for wisdom and knowledge because we want to stay ignorant, because we have fear that God's going to put it to use in our life. That we'll either have to change, we'll have to serve, we'll have to do something. So instead of asking for clarity, we're just going to step back and we're going to keep ourselves silent because, I don't want to serve, Lord. I don't want to put into practice anything. I want to stay ignorant. That may be your choice, but you will stay that way. And the rest of the world will probably move on without you. And there is a cost that comes with wisdom and knowledge. Is to use it, to walk in it, put it into practice, respect it, honor it. Follow the stipulations of honoring God, keeping His commandments, and say, listen, I understand, Lord, I need wisdom in this circumstance in my life. Wonderful. So when He gives it to you, actually follow through. But fear is going to tell you, listen, if you ask for wisdom, that means something has to change. It probably needs to. Of all the stipulations, of all the things of asking for wisdom, here's my second and third closing. All looped in together, then I'm going to pray. Solomon asked for wisdom. James said this, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, and He will give it to you. There is always a stipulation to that wisdom, because God puts in a safety net to make sure you're not going to use it for the wrong reasons. Do we follow God in obedience with the wisdom He gives us, or do we use it against Him? You want long life? You want prosperity? You want things to be done in your life? You want to see a legacy down the road of your life and what you represent? Ask for wisdom of how to make it happen. But then follow God in that obedience so that your legacy represents Him and not the other kingdom.